You know, we might as well go ahead and let this be a Cirrus Bits thing anyway. So Skeletal said, is Pokemon Go worth it, enjoyable, or reasonable storage-wise? So I'm going to go ahead and say this where Pokemon Go is concerned. You get out of Pokemon Go what you want to get into it. For me, it's exercise. I want exercise, and I want something to give me a reason to go out and exercise. Obviously, the gym I can make myself go out to, but that's just strength training. It's very hard for me to do cardio, and Pokemon Go is very good when it comes to making me go do cardio. So if your goal is to lose weight, then Pokemon Go can help you with that. It's very good at getting you outside and doing things. Is it worth it to invest money in? No. Absolutely not. If you want to get enough, if you want to put like enough money in it to like just make sure that you've got okay storage space for both Pokemon and items to start out with, then that's entirely reasonable. That directly affects how functional the game is going to be for you. But in general, are you going to actually enjoy going out and being outside for 2 to 3 hours a day, potentially trying to catch Pokemon? If that's the case, if you will enjoy being outside, if you need an excuse to be outside, then it's great for that. There's also something else I want to say. So if you look at here, how it shows the Ponyta Community Day. So this is one other thing. If what you also want, and this goes for like going to the shop and playing Magic the Gathering, stuff like that as well. But if what you want is to go meet people and go make friends, then Pokemon Go is good for that too, because what you can do is you can go to what's called a community day or a raid hour, and these are community events where you want to be around a lot of people for a variety of reasons, but people will go out and do these days. Jeez, I am just having struggles with the itchiness in my nose. Never be allergic to the animals that you live with, by the way. Never be allergic to the animals that you live with. But the way these days work is for Community Day, only one Pokemon will spawn, generally like 99% of the time, and you will have to get nothing but that Pokemon for about 3 hours. It gives you enough time to get all the candies and everything you need to play that Pokemon, because you don't level up Pokemon at Pokemon Go by battling, you level up Pokemon by catching more Pokemon of the same type, a lot like in the Let's Go games. Now, if you are going to a Community Day, find a designated population center, like a city, and then go on this app called Campfire. There's a link to the Campfire app in Pokemon Go itself. Campfire will show you when there are people in your local area who are doing events based on this stuff. There are people called Pokemon Go ambassadors, and these ambassadors set up events for people to go out and have fun playing Pokemon Go. In fact, actually, I have my Pokemon Go Fest badge from when I went to one of those events. It was the Beldum Community Day Classic, the rehash of Community Day, right? So you go to these and you're going to end up being in a group of like 10, 20, or 30 people, depending on the density of your city, and you get to walk around and catch Pokemon and do raids. That's one of the big things, is raids are really, really important to Pokemon Go. And at any level, you can probably do like a level 1 raid, right? That's not going to be super difficult for most people past level 10 or 12, but after you get past that point, raids start getting progressively more difficult. There's level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. At my level, I can do a level 3 raid if me and Saki are there and we have Pokemon of an adequate level that can do super effective moves against that raid. But when it comes to 4-star raids, we have to have 3 or 4 people. When it comes to 5-star raids, we need to have about 5 or 6 people, if not more. This is where the community days come in, and these are where the raid hours come in. You're already in a group of people. You see a Pokemon in a raid that you really want, then you get to go and take care of that raid lickety-split. We went to an event that was in another city, in a park in another city, where there was just a group of about 10 people who would knock out a raid on Xerneas and then leave that gym and go to another gym and knock out another raid on another Xerneas, because everybody wanted to get a shiny Xerneas, and the rate for shiny Xerneas was about 1 in 20 that day because the raid was programmed that way. So we were all going back to back to back to back to back to back to back until the raid hour was over. And this is a pretty common thing. There's raid hours pretty much every single Wednesday. There's a Pokemon Spotlight every Tuesday, and the Spotlight hour is the same kind of deal as a community day. Every single Pokemon's going to be that Pokemon for a certain bit of time. There's usually not a community thing related to Spotlight hours, though. Whereas raids, you do need people. Community day, you want people. And these events end up helping you go and meet friends and go exercise. And usually the people who are power players in this community, the people who are playing this game a lot of times, they are doing something very quickly and moving back to back to back to things like I said. This is really good for exercise because you're not just sitting around and clicking on your phone. You're clicking on your phone for about 2 seconds, enough time to catch a breather, and then you're going to the next gym. Then you're going to the next gym. And everybody is trying to move at a fast enough pace that they can get all the gyms in the area. So that's one of the cool things about the game for where I'm concerned. If I were to advocate for it based solely on that, then that's where I would advocate for it. Where I have struggles with Pokemon Go, and this is coming from somebody who does love the game. I loved the game when it came out. I did community events when the game came out. I quit for a long time just because I didn't have a reason to play that much, but I have a reason to play now. So, like, obviously, I've been going to events. I've got equipment now that is made to make the game easier for me. This is an auto spinner, auto catcher. This will automatically throw Pokeballs at Pokemon. This will automatically spin Pokestops for you. I use this because I strap onto my bicycle and I just go. Because for me, the main thing I want out of it is exercise. I'm playing Pokemon as well. That's a fun thing for me too. But I mainly want to go and exercise. And this gives me the ability to do that. Alpha Mario X says, you mean the Pokemon Go Plus? Well, this is the Plus Plus, but yes, the Pokemon Go Plus. For me, what I want out of Pokemon Go is to be able to go out and lose weight. And it's great for that. There are some complaints I have about it, though, as well, right? So this stuff is cool. You featured attacks, special researches popping up when community days happen. This is all great. Event bonuses, these are all great. I love this kind of stuff. What you won't see on here, though, I don't think they'll show anywhere on the Pokemon Go. Yeah, they're not going to show it on the Pokemon Go Twitter. What they're not showing is the monetary cost of Pokemon Go. And this is where I start to run into some problems where Pokemon Go is concerned. If I open up the shop right now, right, and I look at the stuff that is available for me to purchase right now, you can purchase coins. Coins get used for various things. You can earn up to 50 coins a day when you are out and about and battling gyms. And you get a daily free box. So my daily free box has a Pokeball, a Great Ball, and 2 potions. That's about the equivalent of spinning a Pokestop. It really doesn't matter. But when I look at all the things that are available for purchase, let's see here. There's a boost box. This has 5 premium raid passes for the equivalent of about $5. Okay, that's fair. It also has an item bag and a storage bag and 5 super incubators. This is a reasonable rate based on the stuff that's in the game, but the problem that I run into with Pokemon Go is that it tries very, very hard to nickel and dime you. So, for instance, they'll say, hey, here's this community day. If you want to participate in the event, you can, but if you want this guaranteed research that will help you on your way, that'll be $1. And this will be $1. And here's this little bundle, that's $1. And it's gonna ask you for low amounts of money, very small amounts of money, constantly for stuff. This boost box here, which has an incense and a lure module, that's 99 coins. That's about $1 worth of in-game currency. It's not asking for a lot of money up front, but what I am terrified of for a lot of people is exactly how much money they'd end up spending on this game due to the nickel and diming the game is working with. As an example, if I go out and walk around, I can spend 100 coins on a premium raid pass. That will allow me to go and fight a raid. That's $1, okay? Now, if I instead am stuck at home and I don't really have that many options, I can get a remote raid pass, but that costs $2 instead. So I was talking with somebody at the gym, And he's one of the workers at the gym, and he mentioned that he's at the gym so often, and he wants a Pokestop at the gym so he can play Pokemon Go there and catch Pokemon there more easily, because he has to spend a lot of his time trying to do remote raid passes, trying to remotely do stuff from where he sits, which he's not really able to do that well because it ends up being very expensive. People who have lives where they are stuck in one place for a long period of time, or people who are, say, disabled, end up having to rely on these remote passes more, and they cost more money. Now, I understand on the one hand that these are supposed to be more expensive because the idea of Pokemon Go is to go outside and do things with people, so there is technically a discount applied to the ones where you physically walk to a location. But again, my issue is how much nickel and diming is in the game. Another example of this, the game has a gacha system, not just the random Pokemon that'll pop up around you. That's obviously one type of gacha system, but there's these things called egg incubators, which I can't show you on my phone because it just shows as a big white screen. But an egg incubator has 3 uses. Now, if you remember in the regular Pokemon games, every step you take with an egg gets it closer to being hatched. Well, it's the same way in Pokemon Go. There's eggs that hatch after walking 2 kilometers, eggs that hatch after walking 5 kilometers or 7 kilometers. Some take 10 kilometers, some take 12 kilometers. And there's some days where the kilometer value for eggs is decreased for the sake of the event. Community Day is usually one of these, right? The issue with the egg system, for me, is that you will always get new eggs. Always, always, always. You will never run out of eggs. Every time you spend a Pokestop and you don't have an egg in your inventory, there's a high likelihood you're going to go ahead and get another egg in your inventory. This incentivizes you to want to hatch the eggs, yeah? Problem: you don't hatch the eggs in your inventory. You don't hatch the eggs in your inventory just by walking. You have to put them in what's called an egg incubator, and you only get 1. Now, if you're a newer player, this doesn't really apply to you because you will be getting more egg incubators the more you level. But at a certain point, once you get to, say, the mid-20s, you stop leveling up every day, and you start having to worry about whether or not you will have enough incubators to hatch these eggs. Each incubator that you can get via leveling up only has 3 uses, and the incubators you get in the shop that cost $2 also only have 3 uses. And there are incubators that can speed up the incubation process that cost a little more, but even these ones are a spook as well, in my opinion, because these incubators, while they do make the eggs hatch faster, all that does is put more eggs in your inventory more quickly, because you're supposed to only have about 9 eggs in your inventory. Once you're out of eggs, it's going to start putting eggs in your inventory again, and you're going to fill up as well. You will never run out of eggs. You will always have them. So this gacha system is going to be sitting there asking you to open these eggs at faster and faster rates, and it will always infinitely spawn more eggs in your inventory if you are actively playing the game. It will never end, and it's always going to take you money to get these eggs done quickly. You can use the one infinite incubator, but as an example, if I fight a Team Rocket Go Grunt, I'm going to get a 12-kilometer egg. I have to walk 12 kilometers with that egg to hatch it. Now, I can do that in a single day pretty easy. That's not very difficult, but that means that this egg is going to take forever, and there's going to be these 9 eggs sitting in my inventory besides it that you are going to want to hatch as well. And there are plenty of Pokemon during events that are tied to these eggs, where there are higher shiny chances for Pokemon tied to these eggs. If you want to make use of that system, you will have to spend money, period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You can put 1 egg in an incubator, and you can work that way if you've got a lot of self-restraint, but the egg system will constantly be trying to drain nickels and dimes out of your wallet for as long as you are playing. It's built into the DNA of the game. Bohemian Lucy says, is 12 kilometers far? Well, let's go ahead and do this here. 12 kilometers, 2 miles. Let's do a conversion. That's 7.5 miles, Bohemian Lucy. That is 7.5 miles, which is a perfectly reasonable amount of time to walk. That is walking 1 hour in one direction at a decent click, and walking 1 hour back home at a decent click. So it is a perfectly reasonable walk, but still, at the same time, having to do that 2 to 3 hours of walking to hatch the single 12-kilometer egg, you're going to want to hatch your lower kilometer eggs. You're going to want to hatch all of them. The game's going to have this little carrot and a stick dangling in front of your head forever, and it's a forever carrot on a stick. You can never attain the carrot at the end of the stick, because once you hatch all your Pokemon, it's just going to refill your inventory with even more eggs, right? And not everybody has the time to do that. Not everybody has the want to do that. So in order to consolidate that time, why not go ahead and spend some money on some incubators and get some of that taken away? And hey, we've got a super incubator that costs only 50 cents more, and it will cut the time of hatching that egg in half. Isn't that wonderful? But again, this is my one gripe with the game, is that it is a mobile game at heart. It is a mobile game at heart. And because it is a mobile game at heart, because Pokemon Go is that, it is baked into its DNA, it is going to be asking you for little bits of money every single time you play it forever. The amount of money you might end up spending on the game may end up eclipsing several actual, like, multi-million-dollar AAA game releases over time. The amount of money you would spend buying 1, 2, 3, or 4, like, Game of the Year games that came out. And this is the way all mobile games are. This is a problem I have with all mobile games. My problem with Pokemon Go is that this is a mobile game that I actively really, really like, right? And because this is a Pokemon game that I really, really like, mostly because I really like Pokemon and I really like games that make me go out and exercise, that gripe is going to be there. It's a thing that I have to basically sit here and engage in copious amounts of self-control with for a decent while, because I like the game as much as I do, and I want to play the game as much as I can, because it does give me that excuse to exercise. It does give me that community. It does give me that ability to go out with friends. And again, this is a lot like the problems that you can have with, say, card games like Magic the Gathering, where there is an expense to keep up with it, and you get the community as an exchange for playing the game. You get to go out and play with friends and meet people and help your mental health. The difference between this and something like, say, Magic, though, is that there is nothing of worth on this phone. This is a digital device, and everything you purchase on here is a spook. It is a fake thing generated infinitely by a single person. The only scarcity that exists on here is the scarcity in your own brain and the scarcity of your own wallet. And it is constantly asking for real-world money to play a game utilizing fake currency. I'm never going to be super big on that system, even if the gaming market largely has pushed itself to using that system basically everywhere. That's where I'm at with Pokemon Go. I think that it's a wonderful game. I think that it's a very enjoyable experience. I think if you've got a lot of self-control, it is an absolutely banger time to have with your friends. But the game has ways of tricking you into trickling a little more money into it at a time. $5 here, $5 there, $10 here on this really big event, $6 here, $5 there, a couple dollars here. Oh, you need some item storage? Maybe a couple dollars here. And it's going to ask you for that. Now, the spook here is that most of the things in that in-game shop, outside of Community Day stuff, most of it you can get entirely for free. That's right. You can get almost all of that for free. Everything here that has an actual, like, coin amount to it, you can get those all for free. If you level up enough so you can have a Pokemon that can rest its happy ass in a gym for at least 8 hours, you will get 50 coins a day. You'll get 50 coins a day, which means every day you'll be able to afford one of those incubators after you've played for 3 days. But don't do that. That's a stupid idea. Don't ever spend coins on incubators. That's always going to be a dumb thing. In terms of return on investment in this game, the worst things you can spend your coins on are Pokeballs and incubators. You don't need incubators to get Pokemon. You can do that just by walking more. You don't need to spend money on Pokeballs at all, because you can get them just by spinning Pokestops. Just go to a place that has a bunch of landmarks. That's all you've got to do. And most of us, if you go onto Pokemon Go, you actually can find a few places with landmarks fairly close to you. The game's basically infected the entire world. The best things for you to do to spend money on ever are item bags and Pokemon storage. If you plan on investing money in the game, only ever get item bag upgrades and Pokemon storage. Never, ever, 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 ever do anything else. And if you are getting money the slow way by getting it from gyms, again, never get anything besides item bags and Pokemon storage, because these are the things that will actively increase your ability to enjoy the game. If you are not having to fight your own inventory for space every single time you go out and play the game, you will have a far more enjoyable time. And I'm gonna be honest, item bag space is far more important than Pokemon storage. Sounds counterintuitive for a game all about Pokemon, but for every one Pokemon or two Pokemon you catch, you've got like 30 potions in your bag. You've got 30 revives in your bag. You've got 100 Pokeballs in your bag. You are going to want, for every like one Pokemon storage upgrade you buy, to buy 3 item bag upgrades. That's going to end up being better for you long-term playing the game. Jassa mentions that but Pokemon get taken out of gyms very quickly. They do. So what I found is a really interesting thing to do. Go to a park, right? Parks are filled with gyms, usually. What I'll do is I'll go to the back of the park and I'll find a gym that is in a super inconvenient location, and I'll drop my Pokemon off in the gym in that super inconvenient location. And what this will do is it will force whoever wants to take that gym to go out of their way to get it. And the thing is, we are all very lazy people. I went to a park last night and took over 4 gyms while we were doing stuff. And in each of the gyms, you would expect all of them would have gotten taken over by somebody, but only the thing in the front. I had a Dragonite out in the very front of the park. That got taken out, but my Ursaring, Omastar, and my Vaporeon, who are deeper in the park, are all still actively in the gyms right now doing their thing. So as of right now, I don't have to worry about them. They are actively earning me coins in those gyms. Once somebody knocks them out, I'll get 50 coins from them too. Just take over a spot that you think is inconvenient to get to, because most people will not go out and do that. Then that Pokemon will sit in there for a few days. Then if you want to take over some other spots as well, go ahead. As long as you've gotten enough places where every day or so somebody's going to knock out something in a gym and you're going to get something out of it. Don't take over like 20 gyms in a single day. If they all get knocked out, you only get 50 coins. But if you take over those inconvenient spots, the likelihood of somebody knocking all of them out in a single day is really, really low. It's really, really low. Alpha Mario X says, if you can check the stats of the Pokemon you have, you can transfer them for candy so you can save space for Pokemon storage. True. Anytime you get a Pokemon, appraise it, and if it doesn't have really good stats, if it doesn't have like close to 3 stars worth of stats, just toss it out, unless it's specifically a Pokemon that has 0 attack, 15 health, and 15 defense. This is because for PvP, those Pokemon are calculated very weirdly, and they end up having more overall stats at 1500 CP than Pokemon that have different stat values, right? Because 1500 CP is what you need for one of the major PvP circuits for Pokemon Go. If PvP is something you care about, if all you care about is going out and playing with friends and doing gyms and all that other fun stuff, then you don't have to worry about that. And never even consider it. But what I do is anytime that I see a Pokemon that has those stat values, I'll just favorite it so that it's gone. Blarging says, if you are playing without spending, it can be difficult to keep up on item and Pokemon space because not only do you keep catching new Pokemon, they keep releasing slightly different variants of Pokemon in events such as Pikachu with a hat or a pin. Yeah, Sephi says, what about dark Pokemon? What about them? You mean shadow Pokemon? What about them? They exist in the game. You get them, they're usable. They have 20% attack bonus, 20% defense negative. Certain Pokemon like Suicune want to be Shadow because they are super tanky. They're cool. It's a nice nod to Pokemon Gale of Darkness. I'm glad that we have that in the game. What's your thoughts? And purify them? You don't have to purify them. If you purify a shadow Pokemon, it gets +2 to all of its stats. But if you don't purify the shadow Pokemon, it keeps the shadow bonus where it gets 20% damage and 20% defense negative. That's fine. You just decide what you need there. If you want, that is what I'm meaning. I know, but we're starting to overcomplicate things a bit. We're starting to overcomplicate things a bit. The shop is a thing everybody's going to deal with. The catching mechanic is something everybody's going to deal with. That said, as far as catching Pokemon and different variants and all, I don't think that really affects the storage too much. Like, where I'm at right now, with the amount of shinies I have and the amount of variants I have, they're probably only taking up about 80 spaces total of my 640 spaces of or 650 spaces of Pokemon. It's not a super significant amount. It's significant in the very beginning where I think you've only got like 100 spaces or so. Fair. But still, that's outside of complicating things. If you just want exercise, if you just want community stuff, Pokemon Go is great for that. Just please be careful with the microtransactions. Don't spend money where you don't have to. That's all for this one.